This is getting out of control, so let's talk about the term absolute God. The term absolute God refers to a perfect, self-sufficient reality that transcends all limitations and is often equated with the ultimate being in various philosophical and theological contexts. The proposition that God created man, followed by man creating religion, presents a compelling alternative to traditional religious narratives. This perspective suggests that the initial act of creation was a divine one, but the subsequent development of organized belief systems, rituals, and doctrines was a purely human endeavor, born from our innate need for structure, community, and meaning. God did not create religion according to this framework, because an absolute being would have no need for it. The concept of religion, with its rules, intermediaries, and structured worship, is fundamentally a human construct designed to bridge the perceived gap between the finite and the infinite. An absolute entity, being complete and self-sufficient, exists beyond such needs. The absolute is not bound by the limitations that religion seeks to address. It does not require faith, worship, or intermediaries, because it is the ultimate reality itself, perfect and all-encompassing. Religion, therefore, can be seen as humanity's attempt to comprehend and connect with a reality that inherently transcends comprehension. The origin of the idea of an absolute God can be traced through the annals of human thought, evolving from polytheistic pantheons to a more refined, singular concept of ultimate reality. In ancient philosophy, thinkers like Plato hinted at a supreme, perfect form, the form of the good, which served as the ultimate source of all other forms and knowledge. An early precursor to the idea of a singular, absolute principle, this concept was further developed by Neoplatonists like Plotinus, who described the one, a transcendent, ineffable source from which all existence emanates. This philosophical groundwork laid the path for later theological and metaphysical explorations. In theological traditions, particularly within the Abrahamic faiths, the concept of a single, all-powerful God became central. However, it was through the synthesis of Greek philosophy and religious doctrine during the medieval period that the idea of God as absolute was truly solidified. Theologians and philosophers such as Augustine of Hippo and Thomas Aquinas integrated Aristotelian and Neoplatonic ideas to define God, not just as a powerful deity, but as a being of pure actuality, unconditioned, and without potential for change, the ultimate, self-sufficient ground of all being. This philosophical definition of God as the absolute, a perfect, unchanging, and necessary existence became a cornerstone of Western metaphysics and theology. Support for the concept of an absolute God is not confined to the realms of theology and philosophy. It has also found resonance among some of the most influential figures in science. Albert Einstein, for instance, frequently expressed a belief in what he called Spinoza's God, a non-personal, immanent deity synonymous with the order, harmony, and sublime rationality of the universe. He famously stated, "I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the lawful harmony of all that exists, but not in a God who concerns himself with the fate and actions of human beings." This view posits God not as an intervening creator, but as the underlying principle of cosmic law itself, an absolute intelligence woven into the fabric of reality. Similarly, other titans of science have gestured toward a transcendent, ordering principle. Max Planck, the founder of quantum theory, asserted that science and religion are not in conflict, suggesting that both seek the same ultimate reality. He believed that the order of the universe points to a conscious and intelligent mind. Werner Heisenberg, a pioneer of quantum mechanics, also saw the mathematical beauty and order of the physical world as a reflection of a central, unifying order. These scientists, while not adhering to traditional religious dogma, perceived in the elegant structure of the cosmos an intelligence or reality that could be described as absolute, the ultimate source of the very laws they sought to uncover. The physical and scientific laws that govern our universe can be interpreted as evidence supporting the existence of an absolute God. The fundamental constants of nature, such as the gravitational constant, the speed of light, and the Planck constant are finely tuned to an extraordinary degree. A slight variation in any of these values would have resulted in a universe incapable of supporting complex structures like galaxies, stars, or life. This phenomenon, often referred to as the fine-tuning argument, suggests that the universe is not a product of random chance, but is instead underpinned by a precise and deliberate design. This inherent order and mathematical precision can be seen as the handiwork of an absolute intelligent reality that established the foundational rules of existence. Furthermore, the very comprehensibility of the universe points toward an underlying rationality. The fact that reality can be understood through mathematics, the language of pure logic and order, is a profound mystery. As Einstein wondered, the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. This rational structure, which allows scientists to predict phenomena and formulate universal laws, implies a source of that rationality, an absolute mind or principle in which the logical blueprint of the cosmos resides. The laws of thermodynamics, particularly the second law describing the inevitable increase of entropy, also point to a beginning, a moment of maximum order from which the universe has been unwinding ever since. This initial low-entropy state, the ultimate source of all subsequent order, aligns with the concept of a primordial absolute cause that initiated the cosmos. Is God truly absolute? This question delves into the core of metaphysical inquiry. We define absolute as a reality that is perfect, self-sufficient, unconditioned, and the ultimate ground of all existence. And the concept of God in many philosophical traditions aligns perfectly with this definition. An absolute being, by its very nature, cannot be dependent on anything external for its existence or its essence. It is the uncaused cause, the unmoved mover, described by Aristotle, the ultimate source from which all contingent realities derive their being. In this sense, God is not merely a being among other beings, however powerful, but is being itself the very act of existence, complete and without limitation. However, this philosophical conception of an absolute God stands in contrast to many popular religious depictions. Anthropomorphic portrayals of a God who experiences emotions like anger or jealousy, who changes his mind, or who intervenes in worldly affairs in a seemingly arbitrary manner, are inconsistent with the idea of an unchanging, perfect, and absolute reality. Such characterizations depict a being who is conditioned by events and relationships, not an unconditioned one. Therefore, the answer to whether God is absolute depends heavily on the definition being used. From a rigorous philosophical and metaphysical standpoint, if God exists as the ultimate ground of reality, then God must be absolute. Any being that is less than absolute would, by definition, be a contingent and limited entity, requiring a deeper, more fundamental reality to explain its own existence. In conclusion, the concept of an absolute God represents the pinnacle of philosophical and theological thought, describing a perfect and self-sufficient reality that serves as the ultimate ground of all being. This idea, which posits God as an unconditioned and independent principle, has been explored and supported not only by theologians, but also by some of history's greatest scientific minds, who saw in the mathematical harmony of the cosmos a reflection of a supreme ordering intelligence. The finely tuned laws of physics and the inherent rationality of the universe lend further weight to the notion of an absolute source. While popular religious imagery may sometimes contradict this high-level metaphysical concept, the philosophical necessity for an uncaused first cause points toward a reality that is, by its very nature, absolute. The proposition that God created man and man, in turn, created religion, serves to separate this ultimate, transcendent reality from the human systems designed to apprehend it. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of this video, and if you want to keep learning with me about God, religion, and other important topics, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel so we can keep learning together.